Welcome to the first episode of Cursed Conversations. I'm your host, Sophie.
And I'm your other host, Angela.
And today's episode, we'll be talking about legends and myths around the world.
Yeah! For the first story today, I'm going to be talking about Medusa. Alright?
Alright.
So, the earliest known record of Medusa was a story from Hesiod's Theogony, right?
Yes.
Yeah. She was born as one of the three Gorgon sisters, Theno and Uriel. They were dreadful monsters from birth, and the only mortal among them was Medusa. Yes. Their parents were Proces and Ceto, which were sea deities that were monstrous beings. And so her story was that she caught the eye of Poseidon in one of Athena's temples.
Water gods.
Yes, very much so. And he raped her in the temple.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Gets better. In anger and jealousy, Athena punished her by transforming her into a horrifying creature for defiling her sacred space.
She got raped, though.
Greek gods are something else. I'll tell you that.
Damn.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, but
Clearly.
it's very sad.
Very.
And so, after she got transformed, she started to possess different powers and or many different features. Like, very different.
Uh-huh.
So, most notably, her hair. It turned into venomous snakes.
All because of that curse.
Oh yeah, it's a very bad curse.
Clearly.
Her gaze.
Her gaze.
You want to know something about that?
What about that gaze?
When you look into her eyes, you turn into stone.
Wow.
So, she decided to take refuge on the island Sarpedon. It was in the underworld. And then time passes, and Perseus, a son of Zeus, was sent by Polydectes in hopes to get his mother to marry him. So Perseus then faced Medusa, and he was equipped with a mirror shield from Athena, winged sandals from Hermes, a hat of invisibility from Hades, a sword from Hephaestus. So Perseus cut off Medusa's head. Like, yeah, just clean off.
Damn.
And from her severed head, the winged horse Pegasus and the giant Chrysaor, they were both sons, and they were offsprings of her union with Poseidon. So a winged horse and a giant was born from her severed head.
From her head?
Yes.
How long was she pregnant for? Does that count as pregnancy?
It was probably a while.
Probably.
Not too long.
Mm-hmm.
But
So homegirl got raped, and then got her beauty taken away, and then was isolated on an island, basically, because everyone got there, turned into stone, and then later got killed, and then gave birth to a giant and a horse with wings from her head.
Yeah.
Damn, she be living a rough life.
Yeah. Alright, and then after that, her sisters, the Gorgons, woke up by the noise of her two sons crying and did the best to avenge her death, but couldn't find Perseus because he wore the cap of invisibility that he got from Hades.
Sneaky bitch.
And so, after he cut off her head, he brought it back to Polydectes. He used it a lot on his way back.
Turned everyone into stone.
Yeah, he used it against the Titan Atlas, and he used it to save a few people. Yes. And then while crossing through Libya, Perseus dropped Medusa's head, very respectful, and her blood turned into venomous snakes. So that's why people are saying that's why Libya has so many venomous snakes.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
And then once he finally returned, guess what?
What?
He gave her head to Athena. And that's not even the best part. Athena used her head and it became a symbol of protection. She put her head on her shield.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The disrespect.
Yeah.
If you're gonna use it, at least handle it with care. And the head ended back where they originated, basically.
Yep.
Where she got turned into a monster.
Mm-hmm. It's not over yet.
It's not over yet.
Yeah, no, it's just more details. Because, so an ancient Greek poet named Pindar wrote that Athena was said to be so touched by Medusa's children's lament that she made the aulos, which was a sad music of double pipe, out of their tears and sorrows. And, it's alright, Medusa ended up becoming a symbol of female power and resilience. She's modernly associated with feminism and embodying strength and the defiance of women who refuse to be silenced or oppressed. And some sexual assault survivors usually get a Medusa like tattoo or something to symbolize her, because that's the impact she had. Yeah.
At least some like kind of encouragement came from her death.
Good woman.
Because she's lived a rough life.
Oh yeah.
Damn. Alright. Moving on to my first story. It will be on a Japanese myth called the 8-Foot Woman, also known as Hachisaku-sama. Its story goes, there was once a young boy visiting his grandparents in the countryside on holidays. Probably summer break or spring break. And he was playing in the backyard, just probably plucking grass, looking at bugs, what boys do. And then around the house where his grandparents lived was a tall fence to prevent, like, things from coming in and children from flipping over the fence and getting injured. Stuff like that. And the fence was about 7 foot tall.
God damn.
So you wouldn't normally see people over the fence. Through the fence? Maybe. Like saying hi, like neighbors walking by saying hi. Stuff like that. You would see them through the fence, not over the fence.
Wait, so were there holes in the fence?
There were like barbed fences where like you can
Oh.
see through them, but you
Yeah.
can't see on top of them.
I get you.
And he was playing in the backyard, and then suddenly, out of the corner, he just starts hearing a small sound. It sounded like maybe water dripping, or like what we envision bubbles popping. Like, bop, bop, bop. And when he looked towards the sound, he didn't see anything. So he just thought maybe it was like his neighbors making something, or like some other kids playing outside, noises outside. So he didn't really care that much. Continued playing. And then he heard that noise again in the background. This time, when he turned back, he saw a very pale-looking woman with long, flowy hair right above the fence, looking at him. In his young little boy brain, he didn't manage to, like, realize that this is weird. How is someone that tall? He just continued staring, and then the woman smiled at him and then walked away. He was, like, kind of weirded out by it, because normally around the village, he would know the people around and, like, would have at least talked to them. But this woman, he's never seen before. So he was a little weirded out by it, but eventually he just continued playing, and soon it was in the afternoons, and it was time for him to go back in the house to have dinner.
Okay.
And as he and his grandparents sat around the table having dinner, the conversation of his day came up. Of like, oh, what did you do today? Did you have fun? What were you doing in the backyard?
I saw a tall woman.
That's basically what he said. He was like, yeah, it was really fun. I was like digging a hole, like looking at insects. And then I heard a noise and I looked around and I saw a really pale and like tall woman just looking over the fence at me. And the grandparents were like, huh, tall woman over the fence. The fence is quite tall. Are you sure it's over the fence, not through the fence? The boy was very sure. He was like, yeah, I saw it. She was wearing like a white dress and had like long black flowy hair.
Listen, when they wear white dresses, you know something's about to happen.
Something's about to happen.
White dress, long black hair? Nah. Walk away, get out of there.
And his grandparents, after hearing about this, his grandparents were obviously concerned.
As they should be.
And soon a thought went past his grandparents' mind. Basically, there was a legend in that village where there was a woman. She had a very tall stature and would only be seen by children in the village.
Oh, so
She targets children, luring them into the forest, and the children never appear again. She only targets people that are vulnerable and people that are easy to, like, trust. Children, they trust adults, or at least people that look like adults.
Okay, but if you're a child and you see a very pale, probably like 8-foot tall woman in a white dress, you're gonna trust her?
Who knows?
Girl, I'd run. I see that? No, I'm gonna dip. Turn around at 180, run.
That's some people's reaction. Some other kids are dumb, okay? They're gonna look at that and be like, oh, that's a really tall woman. I wanna go talk to her.
Maybe she's from the circus. I'm gonna learn a few tricks.
Maybe. And the legend goes, she would the children from the village, and the children would never be seen again. And immediately, his grandparents split into 2 separate teams. Basically, his grandma pulled him aside into their bedroom and stayed with him and told him to don't panic and just stay in the room and don't leave. Well, his grandfather left to find the village's exorcist, the one that deals with spirits and ghosts.
Back, you foul demon.
Soon his grandpa came back with a woman, which is one of the villagers, and is also one of the villagers that can communicate with spirits and also deal with evil entities like these. And she explained the situation to him and then started basically trying to get the spirit to leave him alone. She started off with having a salt circle all around the corners of his room, and then gave him a small little totem that's supposed to keep him safe. And he was told that night to stay in the room, no matter what you hear, what you see, do not leave the room. And at that point, he's already panicking, because who wouldn't? You just playing outside, and then suddenly you're back in here, and then every adult in the room is panicking about the fact that you are seeing something that they don't see. So he doesn't want to be left alone, but that was the only way for the entity to leave him alone. So night fell, and he was in the room. He tried to go to sleep, but he was panicking. His heart was racing too fast, and he couldn't focus.
I think that's very fair.
Yeah. And it was nearing midnight, and nothing has happened. He was thinking, maybe it's gonna be okay? Maybe nothing's gonna happen tonight. And then he heard it.
Ew.
he heard the small sounds. Pop, pop, pop.
Never taken a bubble bath again in my life.
He heard that sound. And then he started having people tap on the glass. And the tapping got louder. It turned into knocking. And then people banging on the walls. And because one of the things that the villager did was also put paper, like newspaper, on all of the windows that lead, like, outside.
Just newspaper.
Just newspaper. So he couldn't clearly see what's happening outside, but he could see the dark shadows moving because the moonlight was right outside. And the banging got louder, and he was basically about to himself.
No, me too. I do the same.
He was under his covers, like, having his pillow over his ears, like, basically curled into a ball. And then everything stopped. He stayed there for a few minutes because he didn't know what was going on. And then he heard knocking on the door. And then he heard his grandmother's voice.
Ooh, that ain't your grandma. That ain't your grandma.
His grandmother said, "Hey, it's okay now. You're gonna be alright. Now open the door."
Don't open that door.
He was unsure. He was unsure. Because think to this point, he's maybe like 6, 7.
He's young.
He's young. So he depends on people. And, like, his grandmother, his grandparents are one of the people closest to him in the village. So obviously, if he hears, like, a comforting voice like his grandmother, he's going to want to open the door for her. So he contemplates if he should open the door. Eventually, he stands up and walks towards the door.
Ooh. Go sit back down. Go sit back down, please.
But then as he got closer to the door, he realized that the temperature has dropped.
Ooh.
And he looked down to the small, like, sliver of light that's shining in from under the door. He looked down and he realized that it seems weird. Because normally if someone's standing outside and the moonlight is shining down, you would see a shadow. But there, it's just light. And the knocking got louder, more frantic as he got closer to the door. Like, wanting him to open the door to let them in. And obviously he saw that and he remembered that what his grandma has said and what the villager has said. Do not open the door for anyone or anything. Do not leave the room, no matter what you see or what you hear. He went back onto the bed, away from the door.
Good job.
And then he heard this blood-curdling scream coming outside the door. And then all the walls started shaking, and he was just paralyzed on the bed. And eventually the rattling subsided, and he eventually succumbed to his tiredness from the whole day of playing, as well as being terrified. The next morning he wakes up, and the sun was out. And he stepped off the bed, and he looked around in the circle of salt. It has all turned black.
Damn.
He left the room after the villager opened the room. Because they can open it, but the entity can't open it. They can open it from...
Imagine having so much power, but you can't open a door. you can take kids, but you can't open a door.
No, you can't.
Damn.
So he walked out of the room and he was, like, hurried into a car. And his grandparents drove him, as well as the villager, drove him to the outside of the area. And then he met up with his cousins as well as his family, relatives, like blood relatives. And he was given another, like, those kinds of, you would see those lucky charms from, like, temples. It's also, like, a safety charm from the villager. And he was told to hold it and don't open his eyes until he leaves the village. And once he leaves, he is never to come back again.
Damn.
And it was also known that if you had, like, blood relatives with you, it kind of confuses the entity which one it is. So that's why all of his family is there. And then he was hurried into the car and he closed his eyes and didn't dare to look around, even though he could. But he didn't. And as the car drove by the countryside and nearing the exit of the village, he started hearing tapping on the glass, and then the sound, pop, pop, pop. And no one else in the car seems to hear it. It's just him. And as they exited the countryside, they stop at the exit, and then he was deemed safe to come out and open his eyes. And once he opened his hands where he was holding the safety charm, the charm has turned black.
Damn.
And he was later put onto his parents' car, and then he drove away. And as he looked back into the like entrance of the village, he saw the woman standing in the fields just looking at him.
I'd cry. I think I'd just cry.
And he was never to come back again.
I don't think he'd want to go back.
He was terrified for years on end after that incident. And he only got notified years later when his grandparents were nearing their deathbed.
Oh, no.
And he was like, they're my grandparents. I have to go back.
Do you value your life?
And when his grandparents were, like, basically on the verge of death, they still told him, don't come back.
Just let him die, man.
We care and value your safety more than ours, so please don't come back.
Give him peace of mind, don't go.
And what does he do?
Nah, he goes.
He goes. And he drove his car and entered into the village. Alone, yes.
Even better.
Yeah, I know, right?
Did he have like a lucky charm or
Nope.
anything? Oh! It just keeps getting better.
He enters and drives in, and he was never seen again. Not even his car. It's like
She took the car.
It's like he disappeared off of the face of this earth. No one ever found a trace of him again, and there were police searches out there. His family called and like tried to get people to help. Posters were put up. Nobody ever saw him again.
It's just stay put. That's it.
Stay put.
He talked to his grandparents, so
Yes.
he called them.
Yes.
I think that gives him enough peace of mind, and he gets to say his goodbyes. Dude, why do you have to go? You see an 8-foot-tall woman with no feet. As you're a child, she's wearing a white dress, long black hair. These are signs that she's a demon.
She smiled at you though.
No one cares about a smile. You go home for the day. You tell your grandparents about him. They're like, nah, that's messed up, you know? If you see her, that's not a good sign. They put you in a room alone for a night. The lady is trying to get into the room. Makes you panic. You hear her rattling the door. Go to check who it is. Look under the door. No feet. So, you see her. No feet. You open the door the next morning. Your family opens the door the next morning. Because you got so much power, but you can't open a door. You see salt, and it turned black. They rush you out of there. You can't open your eyes. You have charms. They gave you a totem too before. You get out of there. You turn back. You see her. You can live your life now, right?
No.
Peaceful.
No, I refuse. I refuse.
You're supposed to live your life.
I refuse.
No.
I must see them. I must.
You can call your grandparents. You can say your goodbyes. Give them peace of mind that you're safe. But no.
I must.
I'm going to the
I
place
must.
where they told me never to go back to. Oh my god.
I must see them one
She
last
took your
time.
car too. She took the car and him in it. There's no trace of him. Next thing we know, she took his apartment building too. Like,
Is she paying the mortgage?
no, she has everything. She. No. I don't know why he would go back.
Then, I mean, that's what happens in, like, horror stories and horror movies, eh?
It's always the dumb people. Alright. Next story is Persephone and Hades. This story is really just a big case of Stockholm Syndrome.
Oof.
Yeah. So fun.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yummy.
Anyway.
Yummy.
So, Persephone is the daughter of Demeter, who is the goddess of harvest and fertility, and also the daughter of Zeus, the king of gods. I'm sure you know him.
Mm-hmm.
And Hades is the brother of Zeus,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the ruler of the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the beginning, when Persephone was born, her mother Demeter had an obsessive love for her only daughter and kept all men away from her, especially the ugly ones. And the most persistent of suitors was Hades,
Wow.
because he saw her and he was like, wow, she's smoking hot. I'm gonna make her my wife. His thoughts exactly. Don't quote me on that. Anyways, he was a very cold-hearted, middle-aged man who lived among the dead.
Wow.
Mm.
Is he hot, though? Depends on it. Depends.
Probably fit.
Probably. He's a god.
Yeah, all gods are fit. Well, most of them. So, when he asked Demeter if he was allowed to marry Persephone, Demeter would get furious and said, no, 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 not in the slightest chance.
No way.
Mm-hmm. And then Hades was heartbroken, started writing songs and
He turned emo.
Hey, he's the god of the dead. I can see it happening. But no, he wouldn't take no as an answer. Men. Sorry. And then one day, when Persephone was picking flowers in a meadow with her friends, the floor beneath her just cracked. Like, straight up just cracked down the middle of the meadow. Yeah.
Damn.
And then through that gap, Hades appeared with a chariot, however you say it, and black horses. And so, this happened so fast, right? The other girls that were with Persephone did not see a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, didn't hear her scream, nothing.
He's speedy like that.
Yeah, he opened a crack in the floor, took her within like half a second. Less, probably.
Damn. And
Yeah.
she was gone.
She was gone just like that. But you know what's messed up?
What?
Zeus and Helios, a sun god,
Uh-huh.
they witnessed it, didn't say anything to avoid problems.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm. And once Demeter found out, she became so distraught and heartbroken that she wandered the earth for 9 days straight no food, no water. She never stopped looking for her daughter. And that was until Hecate, who was the goddess of wilderness and children, she recommended to Demeter that she ask Helios. Because, he's a sun god. He's the sun.
Yeah, he should have seen something
Yeah.
at least.
But he wouldn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
So she begged Helios to help her. And he revealed that Persephone was taken by Hades.
Huh.
Yeah. At least he told her. Even after not saying anything. For 9 days straight.
I bet he when she asked, he's like, "Oh yeah, you never asked."
It's like, if you don't ask, I'm not gonna say.
Like, if you asked, I would have told you. You never asked me.
Yeah. Just never got brought up in conversation.
Yeah,
Even though he probably watched her wander the earth.
Yeah.
For 9 days straight.
Mm-hmm. He's like, nah, you gotta ask me, man.
Yeah.
It's not a normal conversation,
So Demeter wanted to take revenge, even though Helios suggested that it was not such a bad thing that Persephone would become queen of the underworld. I mean, possibly.
Possibly.
If he treats her right.
Still, she's basically she was kidnapped and she's being taken advantage of.
Oh, yeah. Demeter would not let it go and still believed Hades was not fit for Persephone. And she said that Persephone didn't belong in the underworld. Because, so Demeter got angry at Zeus because, he didn't tell her either. And to punish the gods, she relieved herself from her duties and Earth began to dry up. Harvests failed, plants lost their fruitfulness, animals were dying because of the lack of food. So then everyone was dying.
Damn!
Mm-hmm. And so the people's cries, because they were starving, were heard from Zeus in Olympus.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad.
Uh-huh.
So Zeus finally found out that he couldn't sit there and do nothing.
Wow.
And then face the wrath of his wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
Took that long for him to realize that?
Oh, yeah. He's a bit slow.
A bit.
Zeus is a bit of a piece of caca.
Cock.
Yeah. Anyways, so he promised Demeter that if it could be proved Persephone is being held by Hades against her will, then she would be brought back to Demeter.
She got abducted.
Oh, just wait.
Oh,
you
no.
just wait.
Oh, no.
Hades learned of the agreement, and he tricked Persephone into eating 6 seeds of pomegranate fruit. And you see, pomegranate is one of the foods of the underworld. And when someone eats even a few seeds, they would miss the underworld if they ever left it. And so, after he tricked Persephone into eating the pomegranate seeds, Hermes brought Persephone back to Olympus. And so everyone gathered with Zeus present, and they asked Persephone where she wanted to live. She said that she wanted to stay with her husband in the underworld.
Ew.
Mm-hmm. And so Demeter was infuriated and accused Hades of somehow tricking her daughter.
Ew.
She was wrong.
Ew.
I know. And so a fight followed, and Demeter threatened she would never make the world fertile again. So...
Slay. I agree with that.
Everyone in the world would die.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, to put an end to the fighting, Zeus decided that Persephone would spend half of the months with her husband in the underworld, and then the other half of the months with her mother Demeter in Olympus. And no one really had any other choice but to accept that. Because it's either everyone dies and Hades is happy, or people live and Hades is gonna be a little baby about it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's not like Persephone has a choice because of the pomegranate she ate.
Can't she, like, vomit it up?
Nah, she already ate it.
Damn.
Yeah.
Why pomegranate, man? Why
I
pomegranate?
don't know. I actually like pomegranate.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And then after all that, Persephone became the rightful wife of Hades and the queen of the underworld. And now it's said that during the 6 months Persephone spent in the underworld with Hades, her mother was sad and not in the mood to deal with the harvest. So now we say that when Persephone isn't with her mother, that's what causes autumn and winter to happen. And then during the 6 months where Persephone is with her mother, Demeter would shine with happiness, like the sun, you know?
Wow.
And the land would be fertile and fruitful. So that's where spring and summer come from.
Ah.
Yeah.
Still, though, that is...
But apparently Hades treated Persephone, like, really well, and only cheated twice.
So he was a somewhat faithful husband.
More faithful than others. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Right?
Agree. Yes.
Yeah. We had a third party agree.
And as for our last story of today's episode, it is probably the most infamous legend or slash horror story in Taiwan that actually happened in real life.
Oh, this one hits close to home.
This one sure does. As a fellow Taiwanese, I've heard of this since I was young.
As a fellow half Taiwanese, probably not, but maybe might have heard it.
If you don't, I will tell you the story right now.
Oh, I thank you, good ma'am.
The story takes place in March 1st, 1998.
Exact dates.
Exact dates.
Dang.
Because it is actual story that happened. And it was even on, like, famous, like, horror news channels. On March 1st of 1998, it was a family trip happening with the Lus. And on this family trip, it was only adults. They only had, like, their immediate family as well as their, like, significant others on the trip, and there were no kids. And it was until a few weeks after the trip, the brother-in-law mysteriously fell sick.
Mysterious.
Yes. And here's some background on the brother-in-law. He is a very, like, healthy person. He's been a healthy person since they've known him. He rarely got sick and basically was just an overall, like, all of his health tests came back really nice and he had, like, nothing wrong with his body.
Huh.
So the fact that he just suddenly, like, out of nowhere fainted and was sent to the hospital and eventually he never came back home was very suspicious and, like, shocking to all of his family members.
Very much so.
And after his passing, the family members that were grieving his death decided to look through one of the VA recorders they used during their day trip.
Ooh.
And on this family bonding trip, they went onto, like, a mountain trail path to just hike and, like, enjoy nature.
Yeah.
And that site was pretty well known as one of the more beautiful trails in Taiwan. But it was also known that you don't really see, like, other groups of people while you're in the mountains because it's so long and, like, everywhere is so spread out.
We should go hiking here one day if we ever go to Taiwan.
Maybe. But as they were looking through the VA recorders and looking through the tapes, they found something that left them quite puzzled and shocked. The video captured sweet and cheerful moments on the trip. Like, you know how they would set the camera down and then they would just, like, walking the file across and, like, everyone's,
cute.
like, waving and, like, having a fun time and it's, like, and, like, recording a fun moment. Mm-hmm. One of those shots was very weird and concerning because on one of those shots, it showed the family members hiking up the trail and smiling and posing for the camera. Uh-huh. And it caught the brother-in-law that passed away smiling and, like, holding a victory sign up to the camera. It's like, yeah, I made it. We're all here. And it's, like, a very fun trip.
Congrats, you're gonna die soon.
But something was off. If you look closely, you can see these devil-like teeth on the brother-in-law's face, like out of his mouth. It looked like an actual devil, and like nobody else noticed, and it seems like nobody else even saw it on his face until they looked through the recordings. And because of how like grainy the footage is, the people just thought that it's probably just the camera quality acting up. And they didn't want to say anything and didn't want to like make a big fuss out of it when they were looking back at the tapes, because it could have been just like a glitch or something, because it's like a very old VA recorder. But in the next shot is where the main character of this story comes in. The recorder was set up on maybe a tree stump or like a rock, just stationary, and it was recording all the family members walking single-filely on the trail. And they were probably just gonna like keep walking, and then once everyone was out of the frame, someone would come back and grab the camera and then keep walking.
Yeah.
At the very back of the trail of their family members, they saw a little girl. And it wasn't like a girl standing there at like the top of the hill or something. She was visibly walking behind them. She was in all red, like it didn't look like gory. It was like probably like a cartoon character on like a crew neck and then red sweatpants. She looked like any other girl, any other, like, young girl. She looked maybe 10, 11.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if I saw that girl, I would have drop-kicked her so fast.
The thing is, nobody noticed her. They only saw her after they reviewed the footage. And she was seen walking behind the group of people, and nobody noticed her. She was very clear. It was not a glitch this time. Like, even if they tried to pass it off as a glitch, it was not possible. It was very clearly a girl. Here's also some footage, actual footage from the VA recorders.
Oh, damn.
This one was the teeth footage, where you look at that.
Ugh. Bro should get some dentures. Ugh. Nah.
Other than that, there's also the footage of the little girl.
That looks like there's someone behind the camera. So
someone may be filming it.
Because it looks like it's moving a bit. Like.
Yes, but this is the actual footage from the V8 of the spotting of the little girl, where they're just like that and there. She is not part of the group. No one knows who she is. You can't pass that up as a glitch.
Nah.
She is very visibly standing and walking behind the group.
It would be pretty hard to, like, not notice her.
And this is...
That's...
She does not look well. She looks pale and her eyes looks...
Pale, dark hair. This time she's in all red. But...
Her eyes look very sunken in, and she looks very, very pale. She does not look like she's having a fun time either.
I wouldn't assume she would. She doesn't belong there.
And no one knows who she is. Her eyes look sunken in, and she was pale, 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 like you saw. And now this was, like I said before, a trip with no children present.
Mm-hmm.
So who was this little girl?
A demon.
And when they asked around for all the relatives that were there, nobody had any recollection of this little girl. Nobody noticed her. And even though she was so clearly seen on the footage, nobody, like, had ever even encountered anyone during the trip. And no one knew who she was. They were all very concerned because surely you would remember a little girl on a mountain trail alone.
Yeah.
None of them know who she was. And this incident happened during a time where Taiwanese horror TV shows were in the uprising, where a lot of, like, they would put these kinds of TV shows at, like, midnight and just for adults to watch and, like, be like the kids are gone to sleep and the adults are, like, can't fall asleep or just want to stay up a bit later. And these were the kind of TV shows that were aired during that time. And so after discovering this footage of this mysterious little girl, the family decided to send it to one of those big TV shows as evidence and content, and also as awareness for someone to find out who she was and if she was in danger. And originally, the show didn't want to air this story because a lot of other evidence that were submitted for the TV show was just like a shadow or like something moving fast across the camera.
Come on, you're trying to catch some ghosts, not some shadows.
Yeah. Like they weren't like, people would be like, "Oh my god, that's a ghost," but no one ever saw this clearly of someone that no one ever noticed trailing behind them.
The whole girl.
Yeah, so they were hesitant to air this because oftentimes when they have these kinds of evidence that were so clear, people would be like, "Oh my god, that must be fake. These people have to be faking. There's no way." And it was because the family so strongly wanted them to air this episode and the story, they dug into it and did some research around the area. They went to the foot of the mountains and the hills areas, and there were villages there. They went in and asked, "Does anyone know this little girl?" And nobody knew who she was. They asked around, and no one had ever seen her around the area or ever seen this little girl at all. So
I don't think she'd survive alone in the mountains, you know?
So they asked around, and there was only one witness ever other than this videotape. It was of a little boy.
Oh, shit.
He said that she saw this little girl when he was exiting from, when the school was over. She was standing outside of his elementary school gates, just looking at him. And something put him in a trance, and he started following her, just walking behind her.
Oh, my God.
And then when he snapped out of it, the girl was gone, and he was in one of those dark alleys.
No.
And then he snapped out of it. The girl was gone. He, realized his surroundings, and eventually he did make it back home safe.
All right.
But after that, no one has ever seen her ever again.
Oh.
And as suddenly as she appeared, she vanished. And the footage was later published on the TV show, and at the end of the segment, the hosts asked the people to help him find this little girl. And it was like after this horror segment was shown that they got 3 separate call-ins from 3 viewers that claim they have seen this little girl before.
Damn.
And all 3 of them either got in an accident, fell ill, or had some misfortune happen to their lives.
Oh my god.
And in the end, no one could identify the little girl's identity, and she remained a mystery and an urban legend that has been told between kids for years.
Damn.
So this is something that happened over 20 years ago, and it was still being told to me when I was a kid, and to, like, younger grades as well. So it's...
You know what we have to do now, right? If we ever go to Taiwan together, we're going to that mountain.
We don't have to test it out, bro.
Hey, we have to make sure it's real. Let's just hope they go after Zach.
There are also supposed sightings of her, but it wasn't... People were unsure if it was even related. It was a pretty, like, famous music video that was released of, like, you know, those influencers that make their own songs. And it was a pretty catchy song. I watched the music video, and I didn't notice it the first time I watched it. But then the music video went on the news. Because it was a shot where she was standing in front of those buildings, and just, like, they were having the background, and she was playing on her ukulele. And then in the back, they saw someone either jump or fall from the building. Like, literally, like a humanoid shape fall from the building. And that shot made it into the final cut.
How?
Was shown and, like, being, like, advertised for the singer. And somehow the editing team missed it.
How do you miss a person falling out of a building?
Marketing team missed it, and then her song became famous because it's like you know those, like, TikTok songs that you would sing that are just catchy. Yeah. It's not a bad song, but it got famous because of that shot. Because news started, like, broadcasting because people noticed that there was someone falling from a building behind her.
Yeah, I don't know how nobody else noticed that. How can you not notice someone falling from a building?
And a lot of people made connections that maybe that was the little girl in red.
Damn. Wait, so that music video was released before that video of the little girl came out, right?
It came out after.
After?
Yeah. A lot of people think that maybe this is her again. Or, like, because no one has ever had a second, like, another sighting of her. So maybe this was her.
Did anything happen to the person that made the video?
Oh, she broke up with her boyfriend. I don't know if that counts.
Damn, how long were they together?
I don't know.
If it was like a 5-year relationship, it was a little girl.
It was a little girl.
The little girl.
But it was a mystery to how no one noticed.
Yeah.
That's such a prominent footage of someone falling off a building.
I don't know how you don't notice.
Who knows?
You, like, hear it too?
Apparently, because people saw it, like, they reported it to the police. Yeah, when the police went there was nothing. There wasn't a body.
Okay.
There were no signs of blood. There were no signs of, like, denting or, like, anything around the area.
Huh.
And it just seemed like any other building. Yet people saw with their own eyes of the footage of someone or something falling.
Even if it was something, there would have been a mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was unknown, and this news soon died down, and eventually it was now just a story of the little girl in red told among kids.
Damn.
And it has been filmed into movies.
Oh, no way, we should watch them.
Maybe. But it has been turned into movies, and it is, I would say, the most famous ghost story in Taiwan.
Huh.
And that story would conclude the first episode of Cursed Conversations.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you all for listening. If you made it all the way through,
We will have more interesting stories awaiting you in our future episodes. And
please like, comment, and subscribe.
please stay tuned, and
We'll see you when we next see you.
yep.
Alright, bye.
Bye-bye.
Alright. That's where the 8 feet come in.
There is no feet involved in the
Sorry,
story.
but it's 8 feet. So, 8 foot.
8 foot.
Yeah, like tall.
Yeah.
I take that as feet.
No.
So, these feet. But the gore. Oh my god. English no good. That's where the 8 feet come in.
There is no feet involved in the story.
Sorry, but it's 8 feet. So, 8 foot.
8 foot.
Yeah, like tall.
Yeah.
I take that as feet.
No.
So, these feet. Bet you I can jump that fence.
Olympics. Not here, okay?
Yo,
Olympics.
if I joined the Olympics, it would be for the breakdancing.
So, normally, if someone's standing outside, you would
only see
see.
2 feet. I'll stop.
There was no shadow.
Dang, so there's no feet.
There was no feet, no woman, no grandma.